everybody, I am the company's expert, and in this video we're going to be talking about how to get a job. In particular, we're going to be covering hiring for first-time job seekers. So if that's you, stick around because we're going to be covering resumes, and we're going to be talking about discovering jobs, where you look for jobs and where you find them. We're going to be talking about how to get the job, okay, what you have to do for that. In particular, job interviews, and within interviews, we're going to be covering their stated requirements, what they're looking for that they've told you about, and also their unstated requirements, what they're actually looking for that they haven't told you about, how to discover what those are and how to give them what they're looking for. And finally, we're going to end off by talking about how to get a job with no experience. So let's get started. Okay, now you might have heard of a resume, okay? Let's talk about resumes. Have you seen this neat little trick that you can do to figure out what you're going to put on your resume, how to build one? Let's go to Google and take a look at something that's really easy to do that everybody should do if you're building a resume for the first time or you're revamping your resume. Now, you could do this through Google. I prefer to use Bing, actually. Don't laugh. But Bing is actually pretty good for different types of searches. And here we go, resume examples. If you type in resume examples, okay, and you go to images, okay, so you're doing an image search for resume examples. Now, at the very top of the page here, they've got all kinds of, I don't know what these are, like paid results or something. But the first real results start here, okay? So you click on the first result, and you can go up here and maximize it. And this is what you get. Now, you can scroll through tons of examples of resumes, okay? And they will give you an idea of the types of things that you can do, okay? In terms of layout, in terms of the type of content, in terms of the general sort of flow of the resume and what types of things you put on there, different variations, different ways of expressing different things. You can have, like, I'm just going to scroll through these. You can get tons and tons of examples. I don't know how many results there are, but there's a lot. So you can do this to sort of get inspiration and get ideas for building your own resume, okay? Obviously, the content is going to change for you. That goes without saying. But everything else, you can use this as an inspirational kind of thing to figure out what you're going to do. Now, the big question, of course, is what do you put on your resume? Okay. Now, you're basically going to have a few vital statistics about you. You're going to have your contact information. Okay. Like in this case, this person puts their contact information right at the top here. You can put a picture of yourself if you wish. There's nothing wrong with that. You put your name, obviously. Now, beyond that, it varies as to what content you're going to put on. One of the things that's practically guaranteed to be on there is your education. So whatever education you've got, you would put it on there. And if you're currently undergoing education right now, you're in school right now, but you haven't finished the program, you haven't graduated yet, the way to express that is to call yourself a candidate. So for example, let's say you're in university, you're taking a bachelor degree. You're getting a bachelor degree in biology, okay? So you would say, biology degree candidate, okay? That indicates that you're studying right now, but you have not yet received your final diploma and finished the program, okay? It's perfectly okay to list stuff that you're in progress or in process with, but you've got to say that you are a bachelor degree candidate in that case. Candidate is the key word, okay? And then, of course, you're going to have your work experience. Now, you can put your work experience on there in many different ways, okay? There's an entire kaleidoscope of different options of how you would write your work experience if you have work experience. What a lot of people do, the default thing is they limit themselves to their role. So they have the role and then they have their duties. Now, if we look close, if I can zoom in here, let's see here. Can I zoom in? No, I can't really zoom in here. It's not really working too well. But what you see is, I don't know if you can see, this person will have, you can't see my cursor. This person has a job title. They put the dates where they started and ended that role. And then listed underneath in point form are their duties, okay? What they did. They were responsible for this. and they did that. Okay, that's one way of doing it. Another variation on this theme is to talk about your accomplishments. So instead of just listing duties and say, I had to do this, I did that, I did this, and I did that, you would say, I improved this by this amount. I saved this much money on this project. I did this, I participated in this group that boosted sales by 14% that year, something like that. Okay, so those are examples of accomplishments. And you can have both, or you can have one, or you can have the other, whatever works. Check out some of my videos on resumes if you'd like to go deeper, but that's the basic idea. Look at plenty of examples. That is the key. Okay, moving on. We're going to be talking about discovering jobs. So you may already be aware that a good way to find out about the jobs that are posted is using the internet, in particular, job aggregators. Okay, aggregators are websites where they don't necessarily have the jobs posted on their own website, but they go out, they find jobs in other websites, and then they list them all on their website. Indeed is the big one. Indeed.com is a place you'd want to go. It's one of the biggest job aggregators. LinkedIn is also a job aggregator. A lot of the jobs there are posted on LinkedIn, but LinkedIn also links to a lot of jobs outside of it. Okay, so those are both great tools. Beyond those two places, it's sort of like them and everyone else. Okay, that's kind of how that works. Now, I want to show you a very neat little tool also that you can do to discover jobs that are near you. You may already know this or you may not know this, but let's jump into this here. I want to show you something. Not many people know how to do this. Now, let's get out of this. I'm back in my web browser. Let's go to Google, okay? Now, we're going to go to the Google prompt and we're going to type in the name of our city, or if we live out in the country somewhere, our region, okay? Now, for the sheer hell of it, I'm going to type in, where's some place I've never looked up before? Tampa, Florida. How about that? Tampa, Florida. Okay. Tampa is a city. Okay. So our search results come back. Now we're going to go to maps. Okay. Right at the top of the page. So we've typed in Tampa. Okay, which is a city, and we have clicked on maps. So this is what we get. We get a map of Tampa. Now, let's pretend that I lived in Tampa and I was looking for jobs that were near me. Okay. Now, we have a little search box up here in the corner. Okay. And you can type into that search box the industry that you're in. Okay. Now, my example from 5 minutes ago was having a degree in biology. Okay, I know nothing about having a degree in biology, but let's say I worked in biology and I wanted to become a biology researcher. That actually might work really well with Tampa. So we type in to the search box up here the name of your qualification or your expertise or your industry. So let's see, biology. How about research? How about that? Okay. And what's going to come up on the map, as you can see, bam, we got all these little points. These are businesses or organizations that have something to do with biology research. Now let's pretend that I lived right in the middle here. Okay. The crossroads of this giant highways that we have here. Okay. So let's say right in the middle of this picture, that's where I lived. Now, there's a box up here. You know, it'd be easier if you guys could see my cursor. So I'm just going to turn on my cursor if I can. Here we go. Screen capture, additional settings, capture cursor. There we go. Okay, right. So there we go. You can see my cursor. So right up here, we have this button that says search this area. Okay, and if we hit that, usually things pop up. We have a couple like this right up in the corner here. We have a couple of hospitals. Let's see, zoom out a little bit. Let's try this again. Search this area. There we go. So there's some stuff up here. Okay. So if I lived right here in the middle, there's some stuff over here. I don't know how far that is away from me. Not too far. But all of these are shown down the side. So if we look at one here, if we mouse over, we can see what it is. Okay, so here's a cell biology lab. Here's another thing, the Luca lab, whatever that is. Now, for each of these results, it gives you their website. It gives you their address, their phone number, all that kind of stuff. Okay, but the simplest and most obvious way to get a job is if you, in our case, if we had a degree in biology and we wanted to do biology research, we do this type of test. We see the organizations around us that have potential to employ us. They work with people that have our skills. And what we can do is we can go directly to their website by clicking on the link right here. And we can do this for every single one of these. In addition, we don't have to look up biology research. Let's say with a degree in biology, it also qualifies me to do animal training. I don't know, something related to your expertise. Okay, so if I type that in, still looking at the same area, a whole bunch of different organizations come up. We got Canine Dog Training Club of Tampa, All Dogs Unleashed Dog Training Tampa, etc., etc. So if that's where my expertise lied, where these people might want to offer me a job because they use people with my training and experience, then I could also investigate each of these too. So I'd click this one and I would, here we go, wait for the website to pop up, and I'd go to that website and I'd look if they have any job postings under their career tab. And if they did, I might want to apply for it. Okay, so that's a great little technique to find employers near you that could be looking for someone with your skills and experience that could employ you, and you can go and either contact them or you can see if they have currently any listed jobs that you might want to apply for. Okay, so that's one way to discover jobs. Okay. Another thing under the whole discovering jobs things is if you are a new job seeker, what you have to understand is that some jobs are posted and you can discover them publicly. However, a lot of other jobs are not posted. The jobs exist, but they are not posted. Okay. And one of the reasons for that is because these jobs are good jobs that they don't have a problem finding people that would like to do these jobs and that are qualified for them because they are desirable. And usually those jobs are filled through networking, filled through people just knowing somebody. They're also reserved for important jobs where you need to trust someone and you don't necessarily want a stranger in there. Okay. Now, why am I telling you this? I'm telling you this because even though you're a new job seeker and you don't have a ton of work experience, if any, you can still put yourself forward for these. And these are huge, often untapped gold mine of jobs. Okay, so there's posted jobs and unposted jobs, and we're going to talk more about unposted jobs in a second. Now, the place where you find the unposted jobs, okay, is called the hidden job market. That's its name. And I'm just going to show you one little thing here. Okay, let's go back to our web browser here. And if you go to Google and you type in hidden job market, okay, you get a ton of articles about the hidden job market. So let's go to the first one here. Here's something that talks about the hidden job market, what it is, and helps you get a bit of a deeper understanding of it. Come on, there we go. Okay, hidden job market resources. Here's a local university talks about it. 7 tips to tap into the hidden job market. So I'd highly recommend that all new job seekers do some basic research into the hidden job market. Just read some articles on Google, if you type in, say, hidden job market, and get a basic idea of what it is. The short answer to why this is important to you is because you can put yourself forward for these jobs. You will not find them, obviously, in public listings. The way you get these jobs is you reach out to companies and organizations yourself. You're proactive. You don't wait to look through listings and then apply. Instead, you reach out to a company, not knowing if they are hiring anybody because you haven't seen a job posting, and you contact them and say, hello, I'm here. I have these skills. I'd very much like to work for your company because I know you do some good work in this industry. And if ever you're looking for someone that can do this or that solves this problem or that has these skills, please let me know because I'm excited to be able to work for you if ever there's an opportunity. Thank you very much. Have a great day. Something like that. Okay. And what happens is if you could get that message to someone who is a hiring manager, somebody within the organization who it's their job to run a department or manage people so that they also have the authority to hire people, okay? And they know that they need to get a new employee sometime soon. If you get your message out to them, you just happen to fall right in their lap, right when they're thinking of hiring someone anyway, bam, you are an obvious choice because nobody else had the enthusiasm and the initiative to reach out to them like you did, okay? Also, they've had an exchange with you. They've had a conversation with you. And that's certainly a lot more than any other applicant might have who's just a resume sitting in a pile, okay? So this is the absolute basics of how to tap the hidden job market. Do yourself a favor and learn all you can about it because that's where the really great jobs are. Okay. Now we talked about, let's see, where's my screen here? I got all this technology working for me. I got to stay on top of it. Okay. So that's how you discover jobs, the posted job market and the hidden job market. We can look at both places. Okay. So how to get the job? We already sort of covered the basics of how to reach out to hiring managers for hidden jobs. Okay. For hidden jobs that are not posted publicly, you go through hiring managers. For posted jobs that are posted publicly, generally you go through recruiters. Okay, recruiters, they work in the HR department and their job is to find candidates and fill jobs and do job interviews. That's all they do all day long. Okay, 9 to 5, 52 weeks a year. That's what they do. Okay, so most likely if you are responding to a job ad with a job application that you then send to apply for the job, the person receiving it will be a recruiter, okay? They will not be like, for example, if you are applying for a biology research job, let's say a company is hiring, they posted a job, they're looking for a biology researcher, and the biology researcher will report to the head of biology research at that company. That person is the hiring manager. They are the boss of whoever gets hired for that role. That's what the hiring manager is. If you get hired, the hiring manager is your boss, okay? However, if you're dealing with a recruiter will not be your boss. They don't know anything about biology research. They are simply someone who works in the HR department, and they know about posting jobs, organizing job interviews, coordinating you and the hiring manager and checking references and doing background checks. That's their world. Okay. That's what a recruiter is. So a recruiter won't really know too much about biology research, but they do know about how to check references and things like this. Okay. Now, one thing I want to mention about how to get a job. Okay. First of all, if it's a posted job, you apply for it. You send in a job application. Usually that's something that's an email that you email to the recruiter, and they usually put their email address on the job posting. Sometimes it'll be fancier. They'll have like a little button where you could apply here and you fill in a form on a website. But usually the way it works is that you respond to a job posting with an email. And in the email, you're going to have some text in your email, the body of the email, and then you're going to attach a couple of things. The most obvious thing you would attach is your resume. And you may attach other things if they ask for it. You might attach references, which are lists of people that know you, that can vouch for you. If they ask for it, you send that. If they don't ask for anything extra, you don't have to send anything extra. And in the body of the email, you would put what people sometimes call a cover letter, which just says, hello, my name is X, whatever your name is, and I'm applying for this job. And please find attached my resume. And if you should need any other information, please let me know. Thank you very much. And then your name. Okay. That's all you really have to say. Okay. So you could consider that body of the email as your cover letter. Sometimes companies will ask for a separate cover letter. Okay. If they do, then you would attach that as a separate document. Okay. And you send it and it goes to the recruiter. That's usually how these things work. Okay. Now, one other thing I want to mention about how to get a job is there are many ways of getting a job. Okay. I've talked about two. One is responding to posted jobs. Another one is reaching out to hiring managers. Okay. That's two methods. There are others. Okay. And a general rule is that if you get on the inside of a company, okay, that really stages you very favorably to get hired by that company if you want and if they have opportunities, okay? You move to the top of the list, okay, if you've been on the inside of that organization. How do we get on the inside of the organization? Well, there's many ways, okay? For example, volunteering. Okay, you can volunteer for various things, usually charitable type activities, okay? But that gets you inside of some organizations, okay? You have a reason to be there. You're working on the inside. You're not making any money, but you're already rubbing shoulders with the people that work there. Some of them are hiring managers, okay? That's one way. Another way is an internship, okay? If you have an opportunity to do an internship from the school, if you're currently in school right now, okay? An internship is where your school has a special relationship with a couple of employers out in the real world. And it's sort of like a win-win situation. As part of your school education, they can send you for a few weeks to work in a company that's, nearby in your hometown or wherever, and you can get relevant work experience as part of your school program. And this is a really great thing because, as we've just ascertained, being on the inside of that company really positions you well to get a job there if they're looking for people and if you want to do it. Okay, you jump to the top of the list. Why is that? Well, it's because they've already worked with you. They've gotten a free sample of what you're like as an employee. And if you are pleasant and agreeable and they got along with you and they didn't have any issues with you, that's exactly what they're looking for. So they already have a person, you, that they know is pleasant, friendly, productive, and doesn't cause any issues. So if they need to fill a role that you can do, guess who's poised to be the prime candidate? That's you. Okay. So that's why internships can be great. Okay. Maybe sometimes internships are unpaid. They don't pay you to do the work, but if you play your cards right, you can walk out of an internship with A, work experience, B, you have network connections with people at that company. You know who they are and you could pick up the phone and call them anytime and they know who you are and they like you. Okay. 3, you could walk out of that internship with your boss at the company having written you a letter of recommendation saying, this person is awesome. They do great work. They're easy to deal with. No issues. I highly recommend them. That's great. While you're in your internship, see if you can get that. And finally, you can walk out of your internship with references. You can talk to the people in the internship, maybe your coworkers, maybe your boss, maybe other people there, and say, are you okay being a reference for me? And a lot of people will say yes. And then all you need from them is usually a phone number or an email address, usually both. And that's all you need. So if ever somebody wants to verify that you're a good employee, now they can call up these people, and there's more than one. There's your previous boss, previous coworker, and somebody who's worked with you. and they'll give you a good reference. So internships are incredibly useful for this kind of thing. Okay. And finally, when it comes to how to get the job, you can also apply in person. This kind of freaks people out, but this is still done in current year. It's still done, and it's extremely powerful. It's very, very simple. All you got to do is when you apply for a job, okay, the first thing you do is if the company is nearby or the organization is nearby, physically walk through the front doors of the organization. Usually you'll get to some kind of reception desk. And if you're applying for a job in a certain department, say biology research, okay, go to the front desk and say, hello, I'd like to speak to the manager of the biology research department if I could. Now, 95% of the time they'll say, I'm sorry, they're not available. Okay. And that's fine. That's great. Because then you say, no problem. I'd very much like to leave my resume and here and my business card here. If you have one, I highly recommend you get one. Costs like $20 US to print up a whole bunch of them. If I could leave my resume and my business card, would you be able to see that they get it? And 95% of the time, receptionists will say yes. So, okay, no problem. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Have a great day. Right? Then you go away. Then you call the company and you try to get patched through to that person, the manager of the biology department, whatever it was that you tried to get the resume to. Okay. You go through the switchboard, or if the receptionist was able to tell you their name, you know what their name is, so you know who you're going to try and reach. And then when you get patched through them, and if they pick up, you say, hello, yes, my name is X, and I'm just following up to see if you got my resume and my business card, which I left down at the front reception desk. I asked them to be able to forward that to you. I'm just seeing if you received them. And they'll say yes, or they'll say no. Okay. And you say, okay, great. I just wanted you to know. I just want to make sure that you got them. And if you have any questions or you should need anything else, please let me know. I'm very excited to do work for you guys. I know you do some very exciting work. If ever you're looking for someone, if ever you need anything more, please let me know. And that's it. Thank you very much. Just having that little conversation. Okay. You're not trying to sell anything. You're not trying to do anything. If you have the bravery to be able to do this, and it doesn't take a lot of bravery when you know what to say, they'll be very impressed. And all of a sudden, you jump to the top of the pile of resumes because you're the only candidate that they've actually had any kind of personal interaction with. And you have demonstrated that you are passionate about the job. You have the initiative to be able to get things done. And if you were pleasant on the phone and polite, they probably really liked you. So that's already something to elevate yourself above all the other applicants, even people that have more experience than you. Okay? This is a very, very powerful thing. And a lot of times the hiring manager will go down and talk to the receptionist and say, did you see the person that dropped off this resume? What did you think of them? And they'll say, oh, they were nice. They're fine. You say, okay, good. And that's something further in your favor. So this is an example of the alternate ways of getting jobs. There's many ways of getting jobs. Okay. And these are some of them. Okay. Finally, we come to job interviews. Everybody's favorite thing. If you're going to a job interview, what's going to happen is you send in your application or you contact a hiring manager or a recruiter. And if they are interested, they will contact you and say, can you please come in for an interview? Okay, a lot of the time they will suggest a time, and try not to be too finicky about like the date and time. If they want you there at this day at this time, what would be perfect is what could be perfect is if you just say yes, right? Instead of like, no, I can't make that date. Don't make it hard for them. Make it easy for them. Just say, sure, yeah, not a problem. If you can. Okay. Dress up a little. Try to look your best when you go there. Okay. And before you do some preparation. Learn some answers to common job interview questions. I've got a ton of videos on my channel that talk about that. There are many other resources online that can help you. So do a bit of preparation. What can really help is doing pretend interviews with a friend or family member to kind of simulate it more realistically. And that tends to really work very well. Okay. Now, like it says up here, okay, in a job interview, there are stated requirements and unstated requirements, things that they are looking for that they've told you they're looking for, and also things they're looking for that they haven't mentioned to you that they're looking for. Okay. Let's talk about the first one, stated requirements. Okay. Now, in the job posting, usually there is a section of the job posting where they talk about requirements. The person we want to hire will probably have these things, okay? And some are, absolute requirements, you must have them. Others, they say they're requirements, but, they're kind of nice to haves, right? A lot of times people post a whole bunch of things in the requirements section, but they're not really requirements. They're things that are kind of nice if you have it, but really it doesn't matter too much. Okay. If you don't have it, you could still get the job and that would be fine. Okay. So you can draw from your experience if you have any work experience, and that includes schooling. So if they ask you questions about, tell me about a time you completed a project, or tell me about a time where you were working on a project and you ran into a snag, but you had to find a creative way to overcome it, something like that. You can also draw upon your experience at school if it makes sense, if you've been in a similar situation at school. So don't think that you have to only talk about work experience. You may not have any work experience, okay? In which case you can draw from your experiences at school. Okay. You want to say good things about yourself and you want to demonstrate good things about yourself. A big thing that they're looking for these days, especially, is people who are collaborative. You can work well with other people and you can work well with different types of people. Okay. So very detail oriented people, or people with very high emotional intelligence, or people with very low emotional intelligence. You can work with salespeople. You can work with technical people. The more of that kind of stuff you have, the more people like it. So that's a big one. And finally, you want to be passionate about doing the job. That's the number one thing they look for. If you have no interest in doing this kind of work, but you just need money, they're probably going to be not really interested in hiring you. Okay. They want someone who is interested in doing the actual job. Okay. So always keep that in mind. Okay, that's a big one too. Your attitude and how much they like you is a huge part of who they select. Okay, one thing I'll say about this is that if they call you in for an interview, usually what that means is that you have all the stated requirements. Okay, the things that were actual requirements, you have. You may not have some of the things that were, nice to have, but as far as they're concerned, you have the requirements. You're technically able to do the job. If you weren't, they wouldn't have called you in for an interview. So just remember that. That should give you a little bit of confidence. Okay, let's talk about the big one here. Unstated requirements. Unstated requirements. Now, I've been a hiring manager and I've hired people, and what do I look for? What type of candidate do I look for? Well, it's easy to divide it into sort of categories. The biggest category is your attitude, are your traits, okay? For a start, you should be professional. You should act professionally, okay? Have good manners. Say please, thank you when, you're talking to people. Thank them for bringing you in for the interview. And thank them and say that you're happy to be there, even when you're not, okay? Even when you're super nervous, always say, it's a pleasure to be here and I'm glad to have met you. And I'm flattered that you consider me for this opportunity. Okay? Attitude is a big one. If you have a bad attitude, it doesn't matter what technical skills you have, usually, it's a deal breaker. Okay? If you're just you're kind of upset, you're hostile, you're frustrated, you are finding fault with what they're telling you, you are not happy with the situation, those are major red flags, and they do care about that stuff intensely, okay? Be super friendly. Go in there and be friendly and give the impression that you are easy to work with. Whether you are or not, be easy to work with. Be accommodating and be friendly, be polite. You don't have to have a giant pearly white smile on your face, but just look pleasant and approachable. Don't be sitting there scowling at them and looking upset and looking like you have a problem. Okay? That's a huge part of this. Being flexible within reason is also a tremendously useful trait that they look for, okay? If they hire you for one thing, but occasionally they require you to do one or two things that are kind of slightly outside what you were originally hired for, it's good to be accommodating and to say, sure, no problem. I'll do what I can, right? Just that accommodating attitude goes a long way. Okay. Don't create issues if you can possibly help it. Okay. Don't be the type of person that's got a problem with everything. When they ask you a question, it's never clear enough, or there's an issue with the question, or you don't understand it. You need, if they offer you, I don't know, a drink of water, it's like, oh no, that's not good enough. You need to have something else. It's like, this is evidence of the type of person you're going to be when you work together. Okay, so try and be as accommodating as possible. Don't create any issues. Try not to get offended over little things, okay? Obviously within reason, but if you go there and you get upset or offended about like little things that are really not that big of a deal, that's usually a deal breaker. The biggest thing of all is that they need to enjoy the interaction with you. So just be friendly, do your best, be pleasant. Try not to do anything where they would not enjoy it, okay? Like throwing a question back in their face or getting upset over something, okay? Being trainable is another huge trait. They like to hire people who are easily trainable, okay? They like learning things. They realize that in order to sort of be successful in this world, you have to be open to learning new things, and that can happen all the time. So what they don't want to hear is somebody saying, oh, it's not my job. I don't do that. I have no interest in that. I don't do this. I only do this, right? You should, being flexible is an attractive trait. And finally, enthusiasm for the job. Now, they're not going to write any of this stuff on a job posting, but these are super critical. Okay? They're going to be looking for this stuff. As I said, if you were called for an interview, that already means that as far as they're concerned, you seem like you already have all the technical skills. You should be able to do the job. The only unknown is what you're like as a person. Okay? If you show up to the interview late, that's bad. That's unprofessional. If you've got an attitude problem, that's going to create a lot of problems. If you're super finicky and they have to do all kinds of things to accommodate you in unreasonable ways, that's going to be an issue. Okay? Or if they were a little offended by some of the stuff you said, or you made them feel a little uncomfortable, that's going to be an issue. Okay? So just keep that in mind. And finally, how to get a job with no experience. A lot of people wonder about this. Now, here's the deal. I don't care if you've gone from primary school to middle school to high school, and then you've come out into the job market without ever having worked a job, or you've gone on to post-secondary education. You've got university or college or trade school or some kind of certificate program, whatever you got, okay? But you don't have any actual work experience, okay? Here's the deal. If somebody tries to tell you that you have no experience, they're wrong. You have a lot of experience, okay? If you've been through, say, university or college or trade school, you have experience in meeting deadlines, in having a good work ethic, in being punctual, always showing up, in turning assignments in on time, okay? Following instructions, working within certain rules and constraints, being able to follow rules and policies. You have tons of experience of doing this. You've been doing this for years. Being able to work on a project, being able to get assistance if there's a problem with the project, if instructions are unclear, being able to clear them up and ask for help and maybe go outside the original plan to get things back on track. You have experience doing this. You have a lot of examples of this in your backlog that you can pull out to prove to people that you know how to do this, okay? If you've worked in a group and you have problems with somebody in the group, there's a bit of a tension there. There's a bit of some issues working together. You have a history of resolving them. If you have conflict with your boss has given you something, or in this case, your teacher has given you an assignment of some kind, given you instructions, and there's been a problem. Either they've been unclear, or you have a problem doing what they're asking, or resolving some kind of issue. You probably have experience in all of these situations. So don't let anybody tell you that you have no experience. These are all things required to do practically any job. And you've done them all. It's just a matter of thinking through your past, thinking of explicit examples where you've done this. So if somebody asks you, have you ever been in a situation like this? You can say, yes, it was 2 years ago. This was the circumstance. I was asked to do this. I was working in a group. This problem happened. This is how I resolved it. I resolved it this way, and we handed the project in on time and got good marks, right? The ability to be able to pull out those examples is very, very powerful, okay? You have all the experience you need to be a pretty damn decent employee, even if it's your first job, okay? So just remember that. And if you want to go further, you can always do volunteering or internships or things like this. If you have the opportunity, that adds to the things that you can say when somebody prompts you on this. Okay? So hopefully that makes sense. This is a very long-winded video, 42 minutes, my God. Anyway, hopefully that was somewhat useful to you. Let me know in the comments if you have any questions or you have any feedback on this. And check out some of my other videos. I will put a link in the end screen to some useful resources that I have to help you pass job interviews or write resumes and that kind of thing. And maybe one about the hidden job market. And I wish you the absolute best of luck. Thank you for watching this long. You're awesome. Take care.